What's going on? Y'all don't even know if this thing is straight. I didn't really plan on even talking today. But something heavy on my spirit I really want to share. And I don't know who I'm talking to and who needs to hear this message. But a sister just hit me up and said, D, I need advice. I need some help. I'm getting out of a 14-year relationship where I was hurt. My confidence was taken from me. My self-esteem is shot. My heart is broken. And I have 3 kids to raise by myself. Now, a lot of people in this situation, they hit me up and they're looking for like circumstantial things that they can do. Hey, go and put them on child support. Hey, go and get this assistance or whatever with the children. And let me say this, for anybody who's gotten broken, anybody who's gotten hurt, something has caught you off guard. A person ended up being somebody they said that they never would be to you, or they mask came off, you got betrayed, whatever it is that's left you in a situation where you didn't break your own heart, but now you're responsible for putting it back together while trying to continue maintaining a life, especially if you have kids that are dependent on you. Let me say this, your first order of business is to get back to you. That's it, to get back to you. That's the number one thing that will determine what happens after you get your heart broken. Whether you're going to stay down and you're going to be bitter the rest of your life and guarded the rest of your life and heartbroken and depressed and with anxiety and never trusting nobody, or if you're going to go and live the best life that you never even imagined you could live. You have to get back to you. Why do I say that? And I told her the same thing I'm going to tell y'all. Because whenever you were single, more than likely, if you went into the relationship healthy, and what she did, she said she lost her confidence, meaning she had confidence. She was optimistic, but these things are past tense. If you went in with the right mindset, if you were healthy, you were focusing on you. You were taking care of you. You were prioritizing you. You didn't let anybody just do you any kind of way. Nobody could talk to you and change your whole day, right? So you were you-centered, and we're so afraid of that. We're so big on selflessness. Don't get me wrong, I'm big on selflessness too, but I also believe if you're too selfless, you end up being irresponsible with yourself. And what happens with a lot of women, especially y'all with big hearts, y'all get into these relationships and you want to take such good care of your man that you forget to take care of yourself. And then your life ends up being about him, his feelings. Like if you have a good day or bad day, if you feel like you're doing what you're supposed to be doing in life, is subject to whether or not he's happy with you, right? And it ain't supposed to be like that, because why? Now you start to define yourself by how he sees you. And maybe in the beginning, he saw you the right way. He saw the truth of you. You're beautiful. You're this and that and the other. But people change. People change. Sometimes people were never who they presented themselves to be in the beginning. Things happen to folks. Like, you can never internalize how somebody else is dealing with you, because that comes from where they're at. So how do you get back to you? Again, that's the first order of business before you start shuffling cards and figuring out where you're going to move and where you're going to get money from and who you're going to date next. And no, the first order of business is to change what you spend your energy on. Something I learned is that a lot of people, when things go wrong, especially those of y'all who are fighters, you continue fighting. And what you're fighting in the form of conversations that you used to have and trying to formulate a better argument against those conversations that they had. Because maybe if you said something to him different, that'll change his mind. That'll get through to him. Or you going and you checking his social media, or you still investigating this, investigating that, or you trying to prove something, or you trying to get revenge so that he feels the way that you felt and now y'all can even the score and get back together. No. What are you spending your energy on? What you should be spending your energy on is just like whenever you were single, those things that put a smile on your face. Those, like, around people who saw the best in you and reflected that in their actions, right? You want to spend energy on videos, content, podcasts, whatever that pours into you, right? That again lifts you up. You have to, like, where your energy flows, your emotions are going to go as well. And your emotions determine the quality of your life. The second way to get back to you is to change what you dwell on. I think it was Epictetus, don't quote me on this, that said we suffer more from imagination than we do from actual circumstances. Meaning, when you're in pain, when you're in heartache, it's only happening wherever you're dwelling. Mentally, whatever you're dwelling on, whatever you're meditating on, that's where the pain is. That's where the sadness is. That's where the anxiousness is. That's where the depression is. It's not in circumstances. It's when whatever your mind goes back to what you lost. And that was something that she dealt with. She kept saying, oh, I lost this, lost that, years of my life. I said, you know what? No, you spent years of your life learning how to set up the next 14, 24, 34 years of your life to be the best years of your life. You spent 14 years of your life learning how not to waste the remaining years that you got, and then being better in better position to teach your kids something that you didn't know, so they don't have to waste any years of their life if they're willing to listen. Right? So it was about what she was dwelling on. Instead of dwelling on what you lost, dwelling on the space that you now have to recreate it better than what you had it before, so you don't lose it again. And again, I don't know who I'm talking to, but for those of y'all who are responsible for pulling yourself out of that dark place, you got to understand ain't nobody coming to save you, and you honestly don't need nobody to come and save you. You've been equipped with everything that you need to pick yourself up and upgrade and level up. But stop thinking on with the things that you lost and how bad it was. Start thinking on the example that now your kids actually get to see of a healthy relationship when the time is right. All right? And lastly, you have to forgive yourself for letting stuff slide. Almost cuss because this is some real stuff. You have to forgive yourself. Here's the thing, and I put I down in the chat if you can relate to this. The more you think on something, and as you start to heal, it'll become more clear all of the BS that you was putting up with that you couldn't realize in the moment. Put I down in the chat if you've had that. Right now, I want to know if I'm talking to anybody. As you start to heal, you start putting your energy in the right things that are building you back up and restoring you. As you start changing what you're dwelling on, you start breaking that dwelling of all the things that you can't control, and you start putting your dwelling on all the things that's to come your way. You're going to start realizing stuff you were letting slide, you were letting go of, and there's going to be some shame, there's going to be some guilt, there's going to be some self-condemnation. And if you're not careful, that can beat you down as well. So instead of just the heartbreak that you initially suffered, now you're perpetuating something that ain't happening externally, it's only happening internally. But you have to practice forgiveness for what you did not know or what you gave a chance to be that wasn't what it seemed to be whenever you first gave it a chance. You have to learn how to forgive yourself. And only after you forgive yourself can you forgive the other person for hurting you, which sounds crazy, but think of forgiveness not as letting somebody off the hook, but of letting yourself off the hook. Instead of thinking of forgiveness of giving somebody a free pass for what they did to you, think of forgiveness as letting yourself off the hook from continuing to be down by it, from continuing to have your energy sucked out of you by it, from continuing to having your time consumed, and everybody that you come around can tell something ain't right about you. This is a fragmented version of you. That's what you need to look at. It's letting yourself off the hook. It's releasing yourself. And the only way that you can do that is if you can forgive yourself and then forgive that other person. And that's the way that you wipe your hands with them and you get back to you. And then you surround yourself with people who are about you. And now whenever you get into a relationship, you ain't got to sacrifice you to be for nobody else because they going to be for you as well. Based on what you've learned, based on boundaries that you now know how to set, based on self-esteem that you've restored that was lost in the previous relationship. And if it ever starts to go left, you know how to pull back. You know when to, because you know when you didn't in the past. But the first order of business for anybody who's been hurt, who's been broken, who's been fragmented, who's been betrayed, who's been let down, disappointed, who's been eroded over time of letting stuff slide, the first order of business is to get back to you. And then once you get back to you, and at this point you're completely detached from the person, you make room for what you deserve. The real you, not the broken you who's looking for a coping mechanism, but the real, healthy, whole version of you. And this time, what I want to encourage, especially for women, don't go trying to find a project. Don't go trying to find somebody who needs a little tweak here and there. Everybody got work to do. Everybody got flaws, but there's a difference between a man who's flawed and a man who's effed up. A flawed man is still functional. A flawed man is still accountable. A flawed man is aware of what he's doing, when he's doing it, not just whenever he's lost you. An effed up man ain't taking no accountability. An effed up man will take those flaws, turn them around on you as if it's really your fault, and start beating you down, creating new flaws in you that you didn't even come into the relationship with. And the only way you're going to get to a man who simply has flaws, but is accountable, who's an asset to your life, is to get a man who has an evolved mentality. Meaning he hasn't completely gotten away from tradition, but he still has those traditional foundational principles of a masculine man. But he takes his growth as a personal objective, not something that you got to try to push to start, but something that he takes ownership over. An evolved man that you don't have to raise. An evolved man that you can actually feel comfortable in his leadership, not because it's dominant, but because you see his life going in the right direction. Now, if you want more information, want more strategies that actually work to attracting those types of men, because I already know y'all in the comments right now talking about, yo, where are those men at? Get access to the free masterclass you see. I pinned the link right here. Get access to that masterclass, Secrets to Making Evolved Men Crave You. You don't have to go out here and chase. You ain't got to go out here and change who you are. You ain't got to go get no surgeries or nothing crazy. With the authentic version of you, if you're a woman who's worked on herself, if you're a woman who's put her heart back together, or you're in the process of it, you're in your healing journey, but you're in a place where you can receive love, you need a man who's also on your level, and there are ways to attract those types of men into your life, even if you've attracted the exact opposite throughout the past. Again, click the link right here if you want more information on how. For an hour, I went in on how to attract truly evolved men. But back to what I was saying. Also, the link is in the caption. But back to what I was saying. For those of you who are trying to pick yourselves up, you're trying to restore hope in life and love. You're trying to restore trust in your own decision making. The only way you're going to do that is to stop looking externally, stop speaking externally, and start speaking to you. Start looking to you. Everything that you praying for in this season, you prayed yourself out of that situation, everything that you praying for, you'll be surprised. And like 90% of it, God has already put in you. You just got to reach and get those tools. It's already in you. All that stuff you saying is broken, you already got the tools to fix you right now in you. But how are you using them when it comes to your energy, when it comes to your dwelling, and when it comes to your self-forgiveness? Again, I don't know who needs to hear this message, but if you think somebody else in your timeline also needs to hear it, share this right now. Share this. That little arrow down to the left or the right, depending on what your phone is showing. Share this message right now for somebody else in your timeline who needs to hear this. And if you're in the market for an evolved man, click the link that you see pinned right here. Get access to the free masterclass. Again, this is absolutely free. You ain't got to pay nothing for it. Over an hour, I teach you how to attract evolved men so you don't have to keep repeating these same broken, hurt patterns. Holla at y'all later. Y'all be good. Peace.